Greetings, folks. Welcome back to the Jason Damico Show. We are here coming at you pre-recorded live, as I haven't really said before, but just thinking about it, because everybody asked me, is this live? Are we going live? No, we're not. It's pre-recorded. And usually a week or two behind because we've had so many folks on, really talented guests, and we got a really special guest for you, as always, on the show today. Our guest is a singer-songwriter from Charlotte, North Carolina, a pianist and ukulele player with a unique voice. He tells stories through his songs, and his debut EP, This Is How It Starts, was released on February 1st, 2019. And as of today, the songs off of This Is How It Starts have garnered over 200,000 streams on Spotify. His latest single, Just Tonight, was released on December 27th of 2019. And that we've got some really great ground to cover. Really unique sound, really unique artist. Please welcome to the show my new good friend, Mr. Kevin Goodwin.
Jason, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Good to be here, my friend. Good to be seen. And let's just get into your beginning stages. We were talking a little bit before we went live about a bunch of things, but we didn't really get into how you started out, which is great because it'll be spontaneous and fresh in conversation. But yeah, how did it start, man? Because you've got a really unique sound. Love to hear kind of about the earlier years for you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for me, it kind of started when I was about 7. Basically my grandmother bought my family a baby grand Wurlitzer piano, which is beautiful. And it just kind of sat around the house because no one in my family really played. My mom dabbles, and she was the only family member who really even touched it. So it mostly just sat there. And I'd always loved music. I'd always just really been into it from a young age just because my parents were and they always played it. So it was a big part of life for me. But my dad would go around singing songs, his best rendition of like 70s, 80s, 60s songs. One night he was going around singing Lean on Me by Bill Withers. Rest soul.
Recently.
Yeah. Sad, man. Cause that song was kind of where it started for me because I heard my dad going around singing it and I love that song. So I sat down at piano without ever having really played before and just started playing it, and I could just play it. I could hear it and I could play it. So I could play by ear, which I discovered right away. And, by the end of the night, a couple minutes later, I was playing the whole song. And so I was like, wow, this is just instantaneously for me. I felt the connection to it that I never felt with anything in my life, where it was just like, this really makes sense to me. And I really feel this, and just felt this instant passion for it. So that's how it started for me. And, later on, I ended up getting into writing my own songs. First I started playing by ear. I'd figured out, like Star Wars theme song and all the, all my favorite bops as a kid. But then a couple years later, I started taking lessons, and I had a great mentor who used to put on recitals for his students. And so I asked him one time if I could play an original instrumental piece that I'd written. And I got up and played it at the recital. And afterwards, a lot of people came up to me, a lot of the other students' parents and stuff. And people were just told me they were really impressed and it really connected with them. And that was such an exciting thing for me to see something that I had written, have a visible impression on people. And that I was addicted to it after that. I was like, this is 100%. I knew at that point, like, this is what I want to do. I want to write songs and connect with people that way, because it was just the most gratifying thing I'd ever done. So
for sure, man. So piano started out first then for you?
Yeah, definitely. I was way too self-conscious to sing. I was a very shy kid. And originally when I was like, started off writing songs, I was like, I'm definitely going to write these songs and I want to be a songwriter, but I'll hand them off to somebody else to sing, because I didn't have enough confidence to get up and sing. But when I was about 14, I really pushed myself to get out there and really learn. And, I was not a great singer when I started out, so I really had to work hard to become decent. So I worked, just for, like we were talking about earlier, slaved for hours and hours and hours every day singing, just trying to learn and get better, and eventually got comfortable enough with my own voice and happy enough where I was like, I can sing them. I'm just going to go and sing my own songs. So I figured I'd do the whole thing.
Right. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up your YouTube here because Oh yeah. Okay. I was drawing a blank there. No, your vocal on Just Tonight is great, and I mean, from what I've heard thus far, great vocal. I mean, just great
Oh, thanks.
high tenor voice, like awesome. You know, how did that come? As far, I mean, it's obviously your natural range, but the timbre. Who were some of your major influences when you started singing? How did that journey happen for you?
Yeah, so there's kind of like, I feel like, and this might be applicable to a lot of other people, I'm not sure, but I kind of feel like I have two schools. I have what, originally got me into music, which was like the stuff I was exposed to as a kid via my parents. Like, you got the Eagles and Queen and
Right.
bands like Bob Seger and stuff. But then as I got older, in my formative years, I think as a musician, a lot of times in middle school and high school, I think that's kind of where you kind of pick up on the influences that really shape who you're going to be as an artist in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, those bands were like John Mayer was a huge influence on the way I
Yeah, I hear
sang. He's
that.
a musician
Yeah.
who I love. Jack's Mannequin is another one. Andrew McMahon. Jack's Mannequin was a huge band of mine that I was really big into as a high schooler, and even some of the more pop punk bands like My Chemical Romance and stuff like that. So those are the things that really influenced me a lot. It was kind of that alternative,
Right.
emo sound a little bit.
But still song oriented, obviously, because those, they were alternative, but were they really? Because the song, you know what I mean? Like the songs, it's kind of the same thing with like Green Day, because we always
Yeah,
get Green
game
Day.
pop. Oh,
Yeah, Green Day will show up on the show a lot because I think it was on the Tommy Models episode. I said Green Day to me is the 90s Beatles or the early 2000s Beatles. And people get kind of like, ooh, they get a little squirmy when I say that because it's like, now we're like really trying to get Green Day on a pedestal. But you listen to those songs, man. I mean, damn, man, like the songwriting.
yeah. I mean, I completely agree, because it's funny that you mentioned Green Day, because my favorite record throughout high school was, the
American
entire.
Idiot?
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
dude. The whole operatic thing, it was so cool, and I just listened to that album back and from front to back so many
It's
times.
so well done.
Such a great record, yeah. And there were so many great songs by them, and so I don't think it is like putting them too high to say that, because as much influence as anyone could have in the 90s and early 2000s, they had it. They were such a big influence on probably most people who grew up in that era, and they certainly were for me. So
It's one of those records where I can't think of a song that just isn't great. I mean, every
yeah,
song is a hit in itself.
definitely.
So so those are some of the main influences. Then, what about songwriting for you? Same, or was a little? I don't know. Did you dabble a little bit more in other areas?
Uh, I feel like I probably did. So I went through, when I was in that high school, middle school phase, I listened to some bands that were definitely nothing like the music I write, which is like, I was listening to like screamo bands and some
Right.
metal bands, stuff like that.
Right.
And I dabbled, but I was not good at writing that stuff. So I learned very quickly like what my strength was as a songwriter, and it was like pop rock music. I was like, this
Yeah.
is really what fits me as a person, even though I like listening to other genres of music. That's the genre that for me connects the most, and I definitely, as a songwriter, feel is my avenue. So
What's your creative process as far as how you go about writing, and where does it start for you? Is it more, and this I ask everybody this question,
yeah,
but how does it start? Is it more music than lyrics?
definitely.
Okay.
It's a weird thing for me, man. I know some songwriters that just seem like they can sit down and write, and that is so cool to me, because I wish I could do that. I can't. It just hits me at certain times. I have, just a moment, and it's usually 3 a.m. in the morning when I'm trying to sleep and can't. That's
Right.
when the majority of my songs have been written. I get a melody in my head or a lyrical phrase. So sometimes it's music, sometimes it's lyrics first. Usually it's music first for me. But a lot of times it just hits me, and I just feel it, and I'm like, I got to go write a song right
That's
now.
it.
And that's when it happens for me. So, it's not like I'm constantly writing. I wish I was, because I've tried to force it before, but I just can't force it, man. I've tried that, and it's a hard thing for me. So I kind of just got to be feeling it, got to be in the zone for whatever reason. And so for me, it's always something that kind of just hits me in that moment, and I go and write it. And usually the song is written and finished within 3 hours for me. And if it's not, it usually doesn't get finished because I try to get back to it and write it later. But basically, when when I get caught in the songwriting process, I basically cancel whatever else I got going on that day. If it is like, there's been before days where I've had to, like, I remember I was in college and I just didn't go to class one day because I started writing a song, and I was like, well, if I don't finish it now,
you gotta catch it while it's there.
And I'm glad I did, because that's one of my favorite songs that I've written. So I stuck around for a couple hours.
It's good, man.
Knocked it out. But it's for me, it's those things where I've got to capture it when it hits me. No matter where I am, if I got a song idea, I just got to go finish it right then. And that's, so for me, it's kind of a sporadic thing. I don't write songs, but every couple of months I get lucky and a song idea in my head, and that's it. Then I finish it. But it's a very spaced out process for me, which is kind of odd.
We're very similar. I'll talk about me only because I think it's somewhat relevant.
Yeah,
if not, I really like keeping it about the guests on the show. But yes, I really identify with that. And I've lately, dude, the shower is just been, it's bad, man. Like I literally have to like dry my hands, reach over, get my phone, get the voice memo app. And I'm babbling like an idiot but I'm hearing, I hear when I write, I hear everything at once. I already know what I want. What if I have, things just like come to me. And stupid, dude. Like I was tracking a drum track today that I wrote this song a couple of days ago, and the thing wrote itself in, 2 minutes, like the whole thing. And the thing's more than 2 minutes long. That's what I don't understand. Like I already knew what the verse was, I already knew what the chorus was. I was like, all right, we'll just do this as the guitar solo change, chord changes for that area. And then, we just repeat the chorus twice. Very basic, primitive stuff. But it's like, dude, I'm digging this right now. So you got to catch it when it's there. I'm the same way. Like I can sit down and it's like, all right, well, anytime I sit down, it's like, oh, I'm going to write. Nothing ever happens.
Exactly.
If you're practicing and you're just going through scales, and a lot of times, I've said this for years, when I'm doing stuff and I just make a mistake with like scales, it's always the things that I don't like. I haven't heard myself play before. And it's like, oh, okay, let's see where that goes. And it turns into something, or it's just, in the shower and I have to get it on the voice memo app and I'm, screaming and screeching like an idiot.
Yeah, I completely get that, because I feel like the same way. It's kind of like, I feel like it's a gift. Songs are a gift. When it when it hits me, I'm like, I cannot. I feel like it would be wrong to turn it down. I just got to go and get it finished, because I feel, and I see it the same way you just described, where I can hear everything when I'm doing the song. I can hear the guitar and the drums, even though it's just me at a piano writing the song. The whole thing fleshed out the way I want it to be. And I have that idea in my head, and it all kind of comes at once when I get them. When I do get those songs, I just somehow, and it's crazy, right? Because it's something you've obviously never heard. It's a completely new original idea, but somehow it's like this fully fleshed out thing. It just feels like it's handed to you, which is kind of a crazy, crazy thing our minds can do creatively, to be able to, something never had before, just kind of have this whole idea and be like, here's this. And I feel like I just have to capitalize on that any chance I get, because that's where my songwriting is.
Right. And I think it's weird because I'll have to, so there's certain things where you can leave off. I don't know if this is the same for you, but let's say we're sitting down watching Netflix or whatever, and I'm like coming up with something. Just getting the 10 seconds, that could be all you need. And then you come back to it later. It's like, you got to get it down there. Even if it's just the 10-second hook, you can kind of already know in the back of your mind, all right, this is where it's going to go. I just have to get this down now so I don't forget. Because I mean,
Yeah.
you're probably like me. You have probably thousands of voice memo, and 90-something% of them probably don't go anywhere.
Exactly.
But you got to get them down.
Yeah,
because you never know.
Yeah, you never know which one's going to turn into a song that you really end up being proud of and loving and being like, I'm really glad that I wrote this song. Because, you know, I do have, like you said, you know, I think for every successful song I have that has become a fully fleshed out song and I finished and I'm happy with, there was probably like 10 to 20 songs that are completely awful that I tried to write. Were not good songs at all. But, you know, it's a very trial and error process. Sometimes you sit down and you're trying to write and you think at the moment you're like, oh, this is great. And then sometimes I can't finish it, or sometimes I do. And then I'm like, actually, that's not great. I don't know why I thought that was good.
Do you have moments where you'll get something down and you'll come back to it like 6 or 12 months later and it turns into something?
I have never had that experience. It's a crazy thing. Cause
it's pretty cool when it happens.
Oh, man, I hope it happens. Because I've got a lot of like really half-finished songs that I think are really good, but then like I just can't finish them for whatever reason.
Try it like this. Just do a 15-second bit and let it sit. So if you get like, I don't know if you're like practicing scales on piano or just going through your routine, if you hear something, just have your phone there and then just like, I mean, if it turns into something in the moment, great, but just put it down. And then it doesn't happen often with me, but when it has happened, it's pretty interesting because it does turn into something.
Yeah, I'll have to try that because I've never gotten that situation where I've written part of it. You know, it's always been written completely all at once, the song for me.
That's good,
the only
man.
Time back at all is I added a verse to one song one time because me and my band were playing through it and they were like, what do you think if we like had another verse here so we could kind of, it was something for the dynamics. And I was like, I guess I could write another verse. So I went home and wrote another verse. And that was the only time that's like,
right.
I've been able to add to or change a song really after.
What's your lyric creative process as far as, because I think I would say the hardest thing for me, I mean, this is like after writing for over a decade now, it's just getting the right words to fit. Because I'm a big cadence guy, big cadence rhythmic guy. I'll write the melody and the syllables before the words. Very, very often that's what will happen. And then you got to find it's like puzzle pieces. You got to find those syllables and that sonic, sibilance or just words that tell a story, but also work musically. I don't know if you kind of go that way as well, but I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely do. And lyrics have always been the hardest part for me. Hands down of writing a song is getting the right words that feel good with the song and feel like they fit it, fit the word you use, cadence, is because that's such a thing that rings in the back of my head when I'm writing these songs. I want the words to match the melody and match the feeling and the mood. I want it to all come together. And that's the part that is hard for me to figure out when I'm writing is the lyrics. That's the part that comes to me kind of muddied. Like a lot of times the music is all there, but sometimes the lyrics I kind of have to work at to find what words are going to fit and where they're going to be. And it's made even harder by me because I have never been able to write a song that has not been autobiographical. All my songs are songs that I wrote, about a feeling that I had and about events in my life. And they're all 100% true, obviously creative additives to the songs, but everything has been autobiographical. So I've never written, like, I've seen a lot of songwriters that I really admire, like Ben Gibbard, who is the singer for Death Cab for Cutie. And Ben Gibbard basically does these songs. A lot of times they have nothing to do with him. He'll write songs about like just a person he creates in his head, and it's a completely false storyline. He just does it that way. And I've never been able to do that. It's always had to be relevant to me and had to be something that I was going through. Right. So that makes it even harder because then the lyrics because the lyrics for me have to be true too. They have to like actually be, exactly what I'm feeling and going through. So then it's not only have to rhyme and stuff, but they have to tell this cohesive story that is actually happening. So it's I've got a very like narrow box to work with, it feels like sometimes, because that is how my songwriting process is.
No, I can relate, man. Could totally identify. And it's funny because a lot of the stuff that I put out last year was more kind of like melancholic for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Which is kind of strange because actually, no, it's not strange. No, there's a reason why. Anyway, we won't get into that. But and I've still kind of been dealing with some of those feelings, but I've just been so bored of it. It's almost like, man, I just kind of want to rock out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
now it's like all the stuff that I'm writing right now in this phase is like, you know what? If it's not like, if I can't write the thing in less than 10 minutes and it's the most basic thing, it's like you just go through phases. Have you gone through any of those phases? It's like, if it's, I'm going to keep it really simple this time, or no, I'm really going to stretch the envelope, really going to push the envelope, or I'm going to 3 chords. That's it. 3 chords. Do you ever like play games with that?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes when I'm hitting those moments where I feel really inspired and I know I can write a song, I'll sit down and like right before I try, I'm like, okay, I know I'm feeling it right now. I know I can write a song, but I sometimes try to will myself into like, what kind of song do I want to write? I'm like, I want to write an energetic song.
Right.
I want this to be kind of have really cool guitars going on, and I want it to be fast paced. And so there are sometimes I sit down like that and really have to kind of try to will myself to capture a certain emotion or type of song.
And you said it's like you're getting the forces are giving you a gift, and it's a very eloquent way to put it. And I would say it's very similar for me as well. When does it feel like the thing is writing itself? Do you feel that way too?
Definitely. Most of the time I do. Sometimes, sometimes you hit a roadblock with a song and then
Right.
you really got for it. But a lot of times I do hit those moments and I just get those songs initially. It feels like it is writing itself a lot of times. And it's just really exciting because it almost feels like, have you ever seen the movie Yesterday that came out?
Was that the Beatles?
Yeah, it was the Beatles movie.
I don't think I saw it, but I heard it was really good.
It was, and the whole premise was basically this guy, something happened and everybody in the world forgot that the Beatles were a thing. Nobody could remember any Beatles songs except this one guy, and he remembers all the songs, and he's a musician, singer-songwriter who's never made it, and he just starts using the Beatles songs as his own, and he becomes a superstar. But he's kind of
I gotta see this, man. Songs. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's like, the songs kind of feel like they write themselves, but like it really does feel like that sometimes. You really do feel like sometimes you're just kind of following along and you're just trying to keep up. It's almost like reading a book or something. It's like, all right, I can see where this is going, and you just feel like you're kind of along for the ride.
Right.
But by the end of it, you worked hard because you look down and it's been, sometimes it's been 5 or 6 hours.
And I almost feel like, and this is really, I don't know if I've had anybody on where we've gotten this detailed into songwriting. This is really cool. Yeah. And we've had a lot of people on. I can't remember getting this much into detail. And I'll even take it a step further by saying that I almost feel like the bridge, if you go about writing a bridge, and I've done a lot of bridges in the last few years. I used to kind of like the bridge was more like a guitar solo section. It was like the same as the chorus or whatever, or the verse. Nowadays, I really do more of that tighter, A, B, C, B type format. And the bridge is like the only thing that you really have. And I don't even know if this is true, but it's the only thing that I feel like you kind of can get weird with. You can really get creative with, because the other parts of the song, it's like, no, not going to work. Not strong enough. Not hooky enough. No, it doesn't go with the verse. No, it's got to go up. The vocals got to go up here. But the bridge is like, let's screw it up a little bit. And it's still relevant. Like, it still works.
Yeah, no, I absolutely feel that, because a lot of times I think that's the cool thing about having a bridge in a song. A lot of times is it gives you an opportunity to get a new idea in there. And I feel like go in a new direction sometimes. Like an example for Just Tonight, which is my most recent song that came out a couple months ago. the end of it's completely different. There's like a little break, and then it comes back in, and there's a time signature change, tempo change. It's like a completely different song on the end, and that's the bridge on the end of the song. And so
Cool.
I think that's really cool. It's a really cool way that you can kind of, I think, reinvigorate a song with a bridge, where it's kind of an exciting thing, where it doesn't have to be like all the, I totally feel that, where it doesn't have to feel as, conformed as all the other sections. Cause I feel like the verse, pre-chorus, chorus, those kind of always they have to be in line with each other. But sometimes you can kind of inject that new idea via the bridge, which is really, I think, an exciting thing about writing a bridge.
Did you ever get into the Police at all?
Oh yeah, I love the Police. Love the Police.
So, what is it? I think it's Every Breath You Take. That's a weird arrangement because I don't think there's a verse. It's like chorus. It's like intro, chorus, and then it goes to the bridge.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I can't sing that high, but I remember reading an article about that. And I was like, yeah, I never thought about that. Like, there's literally no verse in Every Breath You Take. It's just a chorus, and then kind of like a pre-chorus thing. Oh, can't you see you? It's like a post-chorus.
Yeah,
that's not really a verse, and then it goes to the Since You're Gone. It kind of does like that key change, weird circular fifth thing.
Oh, I totally agree. And I think a lot of songs are actually like that. I mean, every little thing she does is magic. That song has like, I feel like a bunch of different songs inside of it, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
It feels totally different. Like the verse and the chorus of that song are completely different. And the outro is like a whole nother thing. Sting's a great writer.
Oh
but
my God.
He does a lot of really interesting choices in his songwriting, for sure.
Did you ever get to see them live?
No. Oh, I'd love to, but no.
Yeah, I was a Police fanatic and still am. But like when I was in middle school, I literally would set up my drums the exact way that Stuart Copeland had them set up. And he got me into like traditional grip and all this stuff. And like just huge Stuart Copeland fanboy. And then obviously became a Police guy because of Stuart Copeland. And got to see them live. It was 07. Their last tour that they did. At this point, it probably will be their last tour. There were rumors that they were going to do another one, but after everything that's going on now, I don't know. But it was just like, it was just unbelievable to just be there. And it's like, you see one of those power trios like that, and the sound out of three people. And it's like, there's only three instruments and Sting singing and a couple of backup vocals here and there from Stuart and Andy. But man, like that, God, like the cohesiveness, you get those three musicians that just, so good. So good.
I feel like there's very few bands that can do that with like a trio and project such a sound. The Police is one of them. Rush is another one.
I saw Rush too. Yeah. And thank God I saw them when I did. Yeah. That's another crazy story. I won't go into detail on it. Just as it's like, I've already told the story on the podcast, but saw them, really good. And dude, like I was inspired by a lot of those trio guys like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Hendrix, Cream, Grand Funk Railroad, so many great ones.
And even more recently, kind of calling back to earlier in the conversation, Green Day too is another one that a lot of their songs.
And John Mayer, when he was doing his JMT stuff, that was great. Pino Palladino and Steve Jordan.
Yeah, I love the John Mayer trio. Them I did get to see live. I saw John Mayer live.
Cool, man.
So good. And they brought back the John Mayer trio for part of the set, and that was so cool to see them jamming.
We saw one. Oh wait, I think I saw him on the same tour as you.
Yeah, you might have. It was the Search for Everything tour. So it was right after.
Did you see him at Walnut Creek?
No, I saw him here in Charlotte. He came to I think it's now maybe PNC Pavilion, but it used to be Verizon Wireless Amphitheater.
In Charlotte.
Yeah, in Charlotte.
So there's 2 PNCs now because there's the
Yeah,
PNC in
I think
Raleigh.
they
That's
got out
hilarious.
now it's a PNC or something. It changed names recently, so
I guess there's 2 PNCs now. Yeah, that's funny. Or maybe there's not. Maybe they changed PNC to a different name now.
it's so tough, man. So many venues that I've gone to over the years change names so
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
A strange.
All right, we actually saw the Police in Charlotte.
Oh wow.
Yeah, at the Bobcat Arena or whatever. You guys got like
Yeah.
I don't know what it was like, or maybe it was the Charlotte Hornets or
Yeah, it might have been
I,
Spectrum or two. They might have renamed it since then.
yeah, it was in '08, so it was a while back. So let's get into education for you. We'll kind of shift gears for a little bit. I thought this was interesting. Talk a little bit about that, like college years and how that maybe pertains to a certain degree to the music side of things.
Yeah, well, so I'm a piano teacher and vocal teacher by day.
Oh, cool, man.
Singer-songwriter, warrior by night. But I started off doing that right out of college. I basically was teaching piano and vocal lessons to pay the bills, and still am in a large way because I'm one of those musicians who still got to have a day job. I haven't been able to do it full time. I'm trying to make the transition, but as I'm sure you know, it's a lot of work to get to the point where you can do it full time and be making enough
Never
income
ends, man.
to be supporting
Never
yourself.
ends.
I still do that, and it's a great job. I definitely love teaching, but I was going to college originally. I taught for a couple of years coming out of college, and just gone to community college, taken some classes, and decided I was going to go to UNCG, University of North Carolina at Greensboro.
Yeah.
I went for one semester only. I went to get a high school history education degree because history had always kind of interested me, and I got there and kind of had. Wow, I don't think I've ever talked about this before. Like as a singer-songwriter, but kind of had like a little bit of a mental breakdown. I had a identity crisis.
Yeah.
When I was like 19 and a half, 20.
Good times. Fun
Yeah,
times.
good times. College, the golden years. But yeah, for a lot of people love college, a lot of people, but I went and it was not a good experience for me because I kind of had a moment of like, what am I doing here? And,
Right.
I knew music was my passion, but I wasn't really, I was a very shy and reserved kid. I didn't really come into my own until my early 20s and really, I think, get comfortable with who I am and confident in who I was. It took me a while to get there. Kind of a late bloomer on that, but I was going to school and kind of had a breakdown about it. And was like, I don't know why I'm going here. And, I really did enjoy, at the time I'd been teaching beforehand and I really enjoyed that. And also it's funny, I was talking with my, one of my parents, I think earlier today about this, actually. I had a conversation with them, was saying how, I feel like college is so much filler stuff that you're not going to use. Cause you have to go to college and get the degree. When you're getting the degree, anyways, they make you take all these courses that are a lot of times completely irrelevant to the to the major you're getting.
Yeah.
And that drove me crazy when I was there taking all these gen ed classes that felt like repeats of high school to me. And I was kind of like, man, what does this have to do with being a teacher? I was like, none of this is going to be relevant to the job that I am trying to, the career path I'm trying to take here.
Right.
So kind of a lot of that drove me crazy, and I felt like it wasn't a good place for me. College is great for a lot of people, and a lot of people go there and get degrees and find great jobs from it, and they're happy with that career path. But for me, it wasn't the path I wanted to be on, and didn't feel like a genuine path to me for what I wanted to do. So I realized that luckily quickly, and kind of came back to teaching full time, and was able. Luckily not gone long enough that I couldn't recuperate my my students and get back and get right back to teaching. So I was lucky in that sense. But yeah, for me, it was not a good time. And I actually, wrote multiple songs. One of the songs off my EP, it's called Suspension. That song is about that whole experience of going to college and realizing, a traditional educational path like that was not for me. And I was kind of going to be one of those people that was just going to find their own way in the world.
I can relate, man. Went through the same thing. And like we were talking about earlier, went through a gap year and just played shows from 18 to
Yeah.
19 at all the colleges in the Triangle, which is hilarious. And if you see the LSDJ episode, it's way back. It was like, I think it was like number 9 or something, like way back last year. He's one of the first ones on. My good friend Drew Ryan, with AR Entertainment, before he founded AR Entertainment, he was like a freshman and sophomore at UNC, and I didn't start my college courses yet. I was like playing shows. So he was like setting up his little sound gear equipment at the time. Now he's got a freaking warehouse full of stuff. But that's how we met, was through that circuit. And then I did my whole career college wise thus far. I'll probably go back for something later on, but it was all online. I did not feel comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable with trying to, juggle and do the on campus thing. It just didn't make any sense. I wanted to work. I wanted to continue to move with the career, and mentors just steered me in that direction.
Yeah, I think it's hard being a creative person being in that kind of situation, because I think a lot of times we think of things in such an outside of the box kind of way. A lot of times it's hard to be in such a rigid structure, which college kind of is. You go to, every day is the same. You go to class at this certain time, and you got tests and homework due at this time, and it's just very regimented. And for me, I was also homeschooled growing up, so that was totally different. Because being homeschooled, you're just in a completely different kind of headspace for learning than going to public school. I think it's a completely different kind of way of looking at learning.
Yeah, I was homeschooled for 8 years, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you get it.
Yeah.
Different.
So, and there's, and I did the private school thing for a couple of years, and I went to high school for public. I wanted the high school experience, and that was interesting. It was like whatever. But it's so same thing, really, and that's, I think, why we click on a lot of ways, a lot of similarities. Well, let's go down to this for a second. Let's talk about best and worst show experiences for you, as far as, I mean, one of each, if you could think of them off the top of your head. If you don't want to use any names, you don't have to. But love to hear a couple of good stories if you have them. I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Man, I might have to do the worst one second. I'm trying to think. I haven't had a lot of bad experiences at shows, so that's honestly, yeah, I'm lucky in that way, because I played a lot of shows. So for none of them to have gone like horribly wrong, I'm very lucky. Hopefully I can continue that streak. But worst shows are probably just shows where I felt like I had a bad performance, because as a musician, you always want to do your best. So if you feel like you've made a couple mistakes, even if people aren't super aware of it, I know one show I played at this small music festival in North Carolina, and basically I got so nervous on one song for some reason, I completely lost my train of thought halfway through the song. And there were like friends and fans there singing the lyrics, and I forgot the lyrics. I blanked on my own lyrics to my own song that I wrote. And I was like, hey, sorry. I was like, I got to start the song over, because I don't even know. I just blacked out. So I had to go and restart the song. That was probably like the worst, just because I felt so like weird that I'd forgotten my own lyrics, I
think that's actually happened to me before, where like we had to, with the band, like I was like, dude, what in the world? We just kept looping the intro, and then it was like, oh, all right, now I got it. And it's always that first, you get the first word, you're good.
Yeah, exactly. Like I came in on like the second verse, and I couldn't get the first word of the second verse. And so, hey, I'm not going to get it. I got to start over, guys. Which is a weird thing to do in front of an audience. So like it
happens, man. It happens. And all you can do is just like, kind of roll with it, make a joke about it.
It's tough to pick a best, but I feel like the best one is probably, I played a house show a couple of years ago. I think I might have been in high school still, maybe just started college. And I played this house show that was just a couple of, there's probably like 25 to 30 people hanging out. It was just kind of a party, and a couple of local singer-songwriters were all playing there, and I was one of them. And just like a lot of people I didn't know, but they all knew the lyrics to all my songs, and that was so cool. And everybody sang along, like the entire set that I played, like the entire 20-minute, 30-minute set. Everybody sang like every word of my songs, and that was so cool.
Wow.
That people knew them, and that was just such a humbling moment to be like, man, that's so awesome that people were so into it. So, you know, it's awesome when you get to share that kind of thing with the crowd or the audience. It's just nothing like it. So that was an amazing experience.
So gear for you, any favorite pieces as far as, because you're doing, when you're live, I'm assuming you're on piano and singing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird thing as a piano player, because obviously you always long for a real piano. There's no substitute for like having a real piano, but at shows a lot of times, you know, as a traveling musician, you got to bring a keyboard. So it's tough to find a good keyboard, man. Cause like, I feel like there's a lot of good guitars out there, but to find a really good keyboard is difficult. One that plays like a piano and feels like as close to a piano as you can get without being one. And for me, it's Yamaha. Yamaha makes the best keyboards, in my opinion. So if you're trying to sponsor me, Yamaha, if you see this.
I grew up on Yamaha. I recently went over to the Roland world. Really no reason other than it was just more compact, and I like the low end on it.
Yeah, Roland's great too. I used to have a Roland Phantom. Those are awesome.
Yeah, those are sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always been on keys. Believe it or not, I started on keys first when I was like 2. So I was like a freaking toddler, but I hated it. And then drums took over my life, and then guitars and all that. But recently in quarantine, because I did a couple of jazz piano, or for a couple of years I did some jazz piano lessons on and off in high school, but didn't really stick with it. I knew the theory behind it, but it just didn't get it under my fingers, and still don't have it under my fingers. But recently I've been working on it, and let me tell you, man, I tip my hat off to any really competent piano player like yourself. I mean, it's a brain finagling and wiring thing that you've got to really like turn off your brain when you're trying to get both hands together on certain lines. If you're trying to do like bass stuff with the left and chords and soloing on the right, it'll really throw you for a ringer.
Yeah, it can be a tough thing to do for sure. I've always felt the same way about guitar though. Because I tried to pick up guitar in high school. I really did try. I sat down and practiced a lot, and I just was not good at it.
I've heard this before with people where guitar is like really difficult, and I'm like, to me it doesn't make any sense. It's like it's all the same thing. It's like this is just one hand, and you're getting instantaneous. You're connecting. This to me is not connect. I mean, you got to connect, but there's such a diversity between what's going on, and certain fingers are down when other fingers aren't, and that like independence thing. And drums is fine. That's like 4 limbs, but we're talking about 10 phalanges, like 10, and the nerves, like certain fingers won't. You know what I mean? Like it's just God. I don't know. It's always been more difficult for me.
Yeah, but it's funny you say that, because I've always kind of looked at like people who are really good at guitar that same way, because I'm like, man, I could not figure it out for life.
Wow.
I mean, I can play ukulele, but I think it was just something connected with the ukulele because there's only 4 strings. And so I just felt like I gravitated to that so much easier, and I picked it up so much easier. But I was very quick to give up on guitar after like a couple months of trying it and not getting good, because I was naturally luckily I was naturally good enough at piano, just kind of get it and start playing it and get better and better. And it was guitar. I had no natural ability at it, and it was really, my brain had a hard time like connecting the shapes and playing at the same time. So, you know, I've always thought guitar is really hard.
Well, it's funny. Because it's not the first time I've heard that, and I've heard it's a theme on this show, like guitar versus piano, and like piano players trying to learn guitar and guitar players trying to learn piano. And recently I've been doing a lot of, and I've always been in the blues world, so I know the theory behind it. I know all the notes, but just again, like fingerings, scales. And yeah, like once I found F in blues on piano, I was like, all right, this is great. Like F, C, count me in. Working on E, working on D, working on G. I'll start doing like flat keys in a little bit, but that's at least where I can sit there and jump around a little bit with the left hand, hit some bass notes with the pinky, come back and grab, kind of like the dare I say Art Tatum style. I can't do that at all, but like maybe a little bit more of the Thelonious Monk, kind of trashy.
Yeah.
Throw some garbage chords in there, hit some, and that's like when you watch videos of him, it's like, dude, his technique is crap, but that's why it sounds so good, is because you can't like do that unless you're sitting there like throwing your hand on certain chords. You know, I love that type of playing.
Yeah, no, it's a strange thing because piano is definitely, I think theory is pretty difficult on piano. It's easy to understand because everything is so linear in piano because it's all lined up,
Yeah. Yeah.
like E F G A B C D E F G, which is nice because you got everything in such a linear. That's why guitar I think was so hard for me because it's like this doesn't make any sense. I was like, this
Right.
isn't alphabetical at all. So you really gotta think of it in a different way.
Guitar is pattern oriented, very, very pattern oriented, where piano is more like if you start on the wrong finger, you're gonna screw up. Where with
Yeah.
guitar, it's like the pattern, you have to have the right fingering for the pattern, and it's pattern oriented.
Yeah. Definitely. And it is different in that sense. It's also kind of strange because piano is such a linear thing, but also
But it's not to me. In some ways, it's not, because the shapes are different. Like you can play the same scale, play the same scale on guitar, and just shift, and then you're changing keys. Where piano, you got to change fingerings, you got to change.
Yeah,
And,
you do it entirely. With the sharps in there, it's completely different.
Yeah,
so
and it's like that to me was always kind of a downside to the instrument. But now, I don't know, like it's it's repetition over and over and over again, and then your hand just kind of goes to where it's going to go. You know, the biggest thing again was like that left hand, getting that left hand, doing those chord changes, and some inversions are better than others. You don't have to move as much, you know, and then the left hand doesn't have to move around. But I don't know, man. It's and then reading a double staff, like kill me now, like just please, like no.
it's a lot. I mean, I just say it to my students a lot of times. I say piano's hard because you're doing you're playing like two instruments at once, basically, because you're doing, what you got going on the left hand. You're either playing bass notes, or you're playing chords, sometimes bass lines if you're getting complicated, and then you're doing melody in your right hand, or you're doing some kind of accompaniment. There's always a lot going on. So to read both and have both, when you're reading it and going across and you're reading both clefs at the same time, it definitely can be a lot to handle.
Yeah. Did you ever get into like Ray Manzarek stuff at all, like the Doors and okay?
I mean, I definitely listened to the Doors, but definitely not. I didn't get heavy into the. Although I will say I watched a documentary on the Doors, and they talked about his playing, which I thought was super cool, because he basically didn't have a bass player most of the time, so he would play the bass and the keyboard part at the same time using his left hand. He'd play the bass, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah, it's tough, at least for me, because I'm still. And it's weird, like you have to slow. The piano's like one of those instruments where you really have to slow it down. Like you really have to slow it down to get those hands together, and or you have to practice them separately and then try and join them to get together. So yeah, man, like I have such an appreciation for that kind of like walking bass line with the left hand and being able to solo on top with the right. Or if you're going to do chords, like do some chords, but keep some rhythm going between pinky to thumb and kind of play around a little bit. And the other thing that I've noticed is swinging is a lot more fun to me on piano. Like I would much rather play shuffle music on a piano than guitar or drums. you know, and it's kind of because, I don't know, like the fingering, especially with blues, it's a little bit more triplet-esque
Yeah.
than eighth and 16th. Like some of those fingerings where you start with like the pointer or the middle and you kind of cross over and you're doing those crossovers with the pentatonic and the flat five. It's like, oh, now I know why a lot of those blues songs were more shuffle, perhaps, was, you know, ba 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 ba, like that started before it was guitar. It really was kind of like more of that 50s, what's his name? Little Richard stuff,
Yeah.
you know, and he just passed away.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it?
Dude,
This is
what in
such
the world, man? They're all, and Jerry Seinfeld. Not that
the
he's
Jerry.
music related. Yeah, or I'm sorry, what's his name? The dad's name. His dad. No,
Oh
wait a minute.
yeah.
No,
Yeah, I know.
Stiller. I'm sorry. Jerry Stiller.
Okay.
The
Okay.
guy from King of Queens, the old guy.
Oh, I gotcha. I
Ben
gotcha.
Stiller's dad.
I was like, I can't believe I haven't heard Jerry Seinfeld pass.
No. Fake news.
Wow.
My bad. Jerry Stiller. My bad. No, it was, yeah, Ben Stiller's dad.
Yeah.
Anyway, like this week,
icon.
just a lot of great, talented people are not with us anymore.
Yeah, and I feel like over the past couple of years, a lot of just iconic, legendary musicians have passed away, and it's been a strange time to see them go. You know, like Bill Withers. I mean, to me,
Yeah,
that's
Bill Withers too, man. Yeah,
playing, and such a strange thing to see people who had, you don't know these people and you never met them, but they still had such an impact on your life through their music and art, and it's a strange thing to see so many people being taken away like that. It's a strange time to grow up and see people who you kind of idolized either musically or in whatever way cease to be. It's a strange emotion.
Did you ever get into Billy Joel
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
Elton John? And
Yeah,
I'm sure Freddie.
been,
Well, you said Queen earlier, right? So Freddie Mercury as well.
Yeah. I love Elton John and Billy Joel though. Especially Elton John. I love them both, but I've always been more of an Elton John fan. I always
Okay.
liked his style of playing and singing better. I actually saw him live a couple of years ago in Greensboro. He came around and it was awesome. I still wish I could have seen him, back in his heyday, because he's so good now, but like, he's had to have throat surgery and stuff, and he's obviously been doing it for such a long time. It's a different show than when you watch documentaries of him and stuff back in the day, and he's jumping all over the place, and it's a real performance back then. Stuff you can't do when you get to a certain you pass a certain age, and it's like, sit and play, and he's still phenomenal, but it's like I always long to see bands in their heyday like that. And it's always, for someone like me who likes a lot of old music and a lot of classic rock and stuff, when I go see bands, I'm like, man, I wish I could have seen them back when they were just like, just coming out. That would have been such a cool thing.
I've always been more on the Billy Joel side, only because that was just how I was raised. Like my parents are from New York and whole family's from the Northeast. So, and that's a crazy thing, is like dude, crazy story. And I don't think I've told it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Still can't believe this. Still cannot believe this. And yeah, like this is nuts. And it's a very, very funny story. I'm going to leave some details out because it's just, I don't want to like turn it into a 20-minute monologue. But I was in Memphis. Met up with this girl, and I'm still in contact with her. She's pretty cool. But we like went on this weird, we were just screwing around on Tinder at the time. One of my friends got me a Tinder account, and he's like, you're just gonna like go talk to people on Tinder. I was like, all right, whatever. So was just bored, was there for a set. They're shooting something at the time, and met up with this girl, and it's crazy. Anyway, we're talking about music. And we were just talking, whatever, like rock and blues and everything and Southern stuff. And because she's like from Arkansas or whatever. And or was she, I don't know where she was from, Arkansas, Mississippi. I think it was Mississippi, because that's like, that touches right where Memphis is at. And I was like, yeah, Billy Joel, like great songwriter. She's like, who's Billy Joel? And I'm like, wait, what? And she's like, no, seriously, who is that? I'm like, what? Wait,
Oh my
what?
God.
So that was a crazy thing that I learned was like, there's a lot of people in the South like that don't really know Billy Joel's music, but you go up into the Northeast and J.C. Penney's and Perkins and whatever, like they're all playing Billy Joel.
It's so weird. That's so strange to me because I
Dude's
feel like
crazy.
he's so iconic. You feel
I
like
know.
how do you not know Piano
How
Man?
do you
Like,
not know
you're
who
not
Billy
really,
Joel is? I know. And if she ever sees this, she probably will because we're still in contact on Instagram. Like, sorry I'm bashing you, but it's just so funny,
sorry,
man. So
it's
funny.
not really bashing if you don't use a name because then nobody ever
Yeah,
knows.
but she knows. She knows. Yeah, she knows. If she remembers that conversation. But no, it was hilarious, man. Hilarious.
I did go on. Yeah, there's definitely not the same kind of loyalty here because it's funny you mentioned that because like I went on a date one time with a girl who hated Bill. Like she thought he was awful. She was a singer too, and I remember we were talking about music on this date, and I said something about Billy Joel or Elton John, and she's like, "Oh, I can't stand Billy Joel singing." She's like, "That's not singing," and I was like, "I mean, I think there's a lot of people that would disagree."
Well, couldn't the same thing be said about Elton John in a way?
I mean, yeah,
I
certainly.
mean, but because they're not singers. They're not technically singers, but they sing and they sing damn well for what they do.
Yeah,
You
totally. And
know,
it's I think that's such a I don't know. It's like where do you draw the line where something's
right.
singing or not? But I think that anybody who's I'd argue even Bob Dylan is singing. So
I mean,
people
yeah, whether you want to listen to it for hours on end or not, that's something else. But
yeah, but
it's
I don't think it has to sound like it doesn't have to be super polished or anything like that.
no,
I'm also in that camp of that same kind of singer as like Elton John or Billy Joel, where I'm a singer like they are, but I'm definitely not some kind of Kelly Clarkson type singer who's just going to
right.
hit these crazy notes and stuff all the time in my songs. That's just not my style of singing, and but that's a different kind. It's a different kind of songwriting and performing than
And
that.
I think so much of it has to do with the voice and the genre as well. And yeah, Lemmy, when I got into Motorhead stuff, which was really like I got heavy into the discography right after he passed away. And I don't know, are you much of a Motorhead guy?
I can't say that I am. So
Okay.
I know of them, but I don't.
All right. So I'll send you a couple links and you'll know what I'm talking about after this interview's done with. But Lemmy is probably one of the grainiest. They used to call him the voice of broken glass because it's just like, I mean, have you heard of Ace of Spades? That song, da 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 da, Ace of Spades. Yes, I can't even like do it right. So that type of like, but damn, what a vocalist, what a performer, the songs. Like you go through their discography and it's like this guy probably had one of the worst, best voices ever, because he holds pitch, he does his thing. It's iconic as hell. It's him immediately, and it's like that, and it sold records. It's about the characterization. It's about the conviction.
Yeah, and sometimes
yeah.
that's cool to have that, to have that different, unique kind of voice. I feel the same thing you said, like the voice of broken glass. I feel like it's the same thing of like I hear Tom Waits and I kind of think that, but I love Tom Waits. Like I love some Tom Waits songs. I think they're so good. Or Leonard Cohen,
Yeah.
There's people who have super gravelly voices like that. I mean, Eddie Vedder's, that's a great example.
Oh yeah, man. And I hear so many times people like, oh, Eddie Vedder, like he's pitchy and all this crap. And there's those memes that always go around. I mean, it's true because it's like, concrete.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, but still, it's sold.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that it's selling is what matters, but I mean, it resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, and I like Pearl Jam. I like a lot of those.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different style of singing, but hey, it's unique and it's kind of cool. And it's like, not everybody's going to be perfect or on pitch every time, but sometimes it's better to have a unique sound and have your own voice, even if it's not, even if it's not as polished and fine tuned. Sometimes I think there's something to be said about just having your own voice and letting your own unique take on singing be there. Cause that's what makes you an artist, is having your own flavor to everything.
Yeah. 100%, man. Well, this is good stuff. Moving on to like future plans for you and what's going on.
Yeah.
What do you think is going on?
Oh my gosh, man. It's this whole COVID-19 thing has just flipped the entire world on its head. So it's hard to say, as far as like, we were talking a little bit before we started recording about shows and stuff, and how I just hope that, once it's safe, that comes back and that doesn't disappear. It's scary with like movie, they're talking about like movie theaters might not be a thing anymore after this. People are so, obviously, understandably so, wigged out about going anywhere because it's just a scary time. But but I've been doing a lot of like live stream kind of stuff, and plan to do a lot more of that while it's going on, and still have new music coming. Still got some stuff. I got a new song coming out next month on June 5th. I don't know when this interview will air, but it's coming out June 5th of 20.
Yeah, it'll be out before that.
Cool. Yeah. But that's, that I got a new single, Diving In, coming out then. So I'm excited about that, releasing that, and then hopefully soon me and my band can get back in the studio and finish up. I want to release another EP featuring the two new singles that the one that's coming out and the one that came out in December. I want to finish up the EP, but that's all been put on a temporary stop, of course, because of all the craziness going on. So hoping to get back in and start hashing that out and get some new music out, hopefully by next year as well.
Well, cool, man. I've got the shootout section, which I'll say a word and you say a word that's kind of, they're always industry related to the guest. And no right or wrong answers. Just kind of like,
yeah, I hope not, because spontaneity on the spot here.
Piano,
music,
ukulele,
sound,
song,
writer.
That's good. Live,
show,
vocal mic.
Sure.
Yeah.
There you go. Sure. Plugging them right there.
Yeah. Studio.
Recording.
Pop.
Soda. I'll get some hate for that one.
Rock.
Opera.
Whoa.
We were talking about Queen and Green Day. It's just I felt like that's at the top of my mind right now.
Whoa. Arrangement.
Peace.
Interesting. Riff.
Guitar.
Charlotte.
Scene.
Pizza.
Music scene. That's what I was thinking in my head. Is one word only. So.
Right. Pizza.
Hut.
Dude, you got some good ones, man. You're shaking it up.
I gotta see these endorsements, man. I'm really name dropping a lot of companies and corporations here.
Pizza. Watch Pizza Hut be the first one.
The first sponsor. That'd be a bizarre sponsor for me.
The Kevin Goodwin special.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut and Sure.
Dude,
sure
I'll be honest with you. I would take a damn Pizza Hut endorsement before a gear endorsement. I mean, think about it. Think about it. Like free pizza. I don't know.
Right?
That's just kind of how my mind thinks.
You could write the new jingle or soundtrack for Pizza Hut. You'd be set.
You and I, we might have to do a collaboration on this. This may be a thing now. We may have to do this.
See if we can get free pizza for a lifetime.
Right. If you go back in time to your 15-year-old self, knowing what you know now, what would you tell him?
Man, I would just tell myself to be more confident in who I am and not let myself be my own worst enemy. Cause I was definitely like that as a kid. I definitely, I kind of came into being a professional singer-songwriter and really taking it seriously and putting out really solid music that I put a lot of time and effort into producing and everything late compared to a lot of people, because I didn't do it until my 20s. And I'd always had the passion for it. I'd always written and practiced and wanted it so badly. But I think I did that thing that a lot of kids do who are insecure and shy. And, I kind of talked myself down a lot, really kind of always was that I was my own voice in my head saying, are you really ready? Are you really good enough kind of thing? And I wish I had just had a little more, believed in myself a little more and just pushed through it more earlier on. So that's what I would tell myself is, don't be so hard on yourself. Give give yourself an opportunity and chances to fail, and don't look at that as the worst thing in the world. Just go out and do it. And,
right.
Go out and live. Don't continuously wait and think that tomorrow is going to be the day. Today's the day if you make it the day, but you got to go out and you got to seize it, and you got to put in the work and just do it, and not be so harsh on yourself, and just allow yourself to be where you're at, and not be so hard on yourself about that.
Carpe diem. Yeah. Dude, this is great stuff. We'll have it in the description box below and to the sides, but audibly, if somebody's driving their car right now and can't read, shouldn't be
Fair
reading.
enough. Yeah. You can check out all my stuff on kevingoodwinmusic.com, or, I've got stuff on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, anywhere you listen to music, pretty much you can find my stuff. If you type in Kevin Goodwin, I should be the first thing that comes up. But yeah, I got all my social media links and everything like that on my website, which is just www.kevingoodwinmusic.com.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for coming on the show.
Oh, dude, thanks for having me. we were talking about it earlier, but I found your music and then found the show, and I just thought it's such a cool thing. And it's such a cool thing because you're interviewing so many different people from so many different places in the music industry, which is such a cool thing. It's such a cool, comprehensive listening experience, not only for musicians, but for anybody who's interested in music or the music industry. And so I'm just, glad to be a part of it, man. It was a blast, and, thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the kind words, and I look forward to whether it's Pizza Hut or not. This is just the beginning. I think we've got some cool things we can creatively do together at some point, and just continue to have good vibes.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. I had a great time, so I really appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing what you got coming out as well.
Cool, man. Well, you guys have been watching and listening to the Jason Damico Show. Definitely check out Kevin's information and material, and look out for the new music he's got coming down the pipe soon. And we will see you all on the next one. Peace.